Writing in the New York Times, Alex de Waal, an advisor to the UN Economic Commission for Africa and to UNICEF, sums up the effects of the epidemic well. Just as HIV destroys the body's immune system, the epidemic of HIV and AIDS has disabled the body politic. As a result of HIV, the worst-hit African countries have undergone a social breakdown that is now reaching a new level. African society's capacity to resist famine is fast eroding. Hunger and disease have begun reinforcing each other. As daunting as the prospect is, we will have to fight them together, or we will succeed against neither. While the HIV epidemic is concentrated in Africa, air and water pollutants are damaging the health of people everywhere. A joint study by the University of California and the Boston Medical Center shows that some 200 human diseases, ranging from cerebral palsy to testicular atrophy, are linked to pollutants. Other diseases that can be caused by pollutants include an astounding 37 forms of cancer, plus heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, dermatitis, bronchitis, hyperactivity, deafness, sperm damage, and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases. Nowhere is pollution damaging human health more than in China, where deaths from cancer have now eclipsed those from heart ailments and cerebrovascular disease. A Ministry of Health survey of 30 cities and 78 counties that was released in 2007 reveals a rising tide of cancer. Populations of some cancer villages are being decimated by the disease. Jiangsu Province, located on the coast just north of Shanghai, is both one of China's most prosperous provinces and one of its most cancer-ridden. Although it has only 5% of the country's population, it has 12% of the cancer deaths. One river in the province was laden with 93 different carcinogens, most of them from untreated factory waste. Pan Yu, Vice Minister of China's Environmental Protection Administration, believes his country is dangerously near a crisis point. The reason, he believes, is that Marxism has given way to an unrestrained pursuit of material gain devoid of morality. Traditional Chinese culture, with its emphasis on harmony between human beings and nature, he says, was thrown aside. The new reality is that each year China grows richer and sicker. Although there are frequent pronouncements urging steps to reduce pollution, these official statements are largely ignored. There is not yet a real commitment in the Chinese government to control pollution. China's Environmental Protection Administration has fewer than 300 employees, all located in Beijing. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, in contrast, has 17,000 employees, most of whom work in regional offices around the country where they can observe and monitor pollution at the local level. Yet the United States is also still feeling the effects of pollution. In July 2005, the Environmental Working Group, in collaboration with Commonweal, released an analysis of umbilical cord blood from 10 randomly selected newborns in U.S. hospitals. They found a total of 287 chemicals in these tests. Of the 287 chemicals we detected, we know that 180 cause cancer in humans or animals, 217 are toxic to the brain and nervous system, and 208 cause birth defects, or abnormal development in animal tests. Everyone on the planet shares this body burden of toxic chemicals, but infants are at greater risk because they are in the highly vulnerable formative stage of early development. WHO reports an estimated 3 million deaths worldwide each year from air pollutants, 3 times the number of traffic fatalities. In the United States, air pollution each year claims 70,000 lives, compared with the country's 45,000 traffic deaths. A UK research team reports a surprising rise in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases, and in motor neuron disease generally, in 10 industrial countries, 6 in Europe plus the United States, Japan, Canada, and Australia. In England and Wales, deaths from these brain diseases increased from 3,000 per year in the late 1970s to 10,000 in the late 1990s. Over an 18-year period, death rates from these diseases, mainly Alzheimer's, more than tripled for men and nearly doubled for women. This increase in dementia is likely linked to a rise in the concentration of pesticides, industrial effluents, car exhaust, and other pollutants in the environment. A 2006 study by the Harvard School of Public Health found that long-term low-level exposure to pesticides raised the risk of developing Parkinson's disease by 70%. Scientists are becoming increasingly concerned about the various effects of mercury, a potent neurotoxin, which now permeates the environment in virtually all countries with coal-burning power plants, and many of those with gold mines. For example, gold miners release an estimated 290,000 pounds of mercury into the Amazon ecosystem each year, and coal-burning power plants release nearly 100,000 pounds of mercury into the air in the United States. The US EPA reports that mercury from power plants settles over waterways, polluting rivers and lakes, and contaminating fish. In 2006, 48 of the 50 states in the United States, all but Alaska and Wyoming, issued a total of 3,080 fish advisories warning against eating fish from local lakes and streams because of their mercury content. EPA research indicates that 1 out of every 6 women of childbearing age in the United States has enough mercury in her blood to harm a developing fetus. This means that 630,000 of the 4 million babies born in the country each year may face neurological damage from mercury exposure before birth. No one knows exactly how many chemicals are manufactured today, but with the advent of synthetic chemicals, the number of chemicals in use has climbed to over 100,000. A random blood test of Americans will show measurable amounts of easily 200 chemicals that did not exist a century ago. Most of these new chemicals have not been tested for toxicity. Those that are known to be toxic are included in a list of nearly 650 chemicals whose discharge by industry into the environment must be reported to the EPA. The Toxics Release Inventory, TRI, now accessible on the Internet, provides information on a community-by-community basis, arming local groups with data needed to evaluate the potential threats to their health and that of the environment. Since the TRI was inaugurated in 1988, reported toxic chemical emissions have declined dramatically. Throwaway economy in trouble. Another distinctly unhealthy trend is the swelling flow of garbage associated with the throwaway economy. Throwaway products were first conceived following World War II as a convenience, and as a way of creating jobs and sustaining economic growth. The more goods produced and discarded, the reasoning went, the more jobs there would be. What sold throwaways was their convenience. For example, rather than washing cloth towels or napkins, consumers welcome disposable paper versions. Thus we have substituted facial tissues for handkerchiefs, disposable paper towels for hand towels, disposable table napkins for cloth ones, and throwaway beverage containers for refillable ones. Even the shopping bags we used to carry home throwaway products become part of the garbage flow. The throwaway economy is on a collision course with the Earth's geological limits. Aside from running out of landfills near cities, the world is also fast running out of the cheap oil that is used to manufacture and transport throwaway products. Perhaps more fundamentally, there is not enough readily accessible lead, tin, copper, iron ore, or bauxite to sustain the throwaway economy beyond another generation or two. Assuming an annual 2% growth in extraction, U.S. Geological Survey data on economically recoverable reserves show the world has 17 years of reserves remaining for lead, 19 years for tin, 25 years for copper, 54 years for iron ore, and 68 years for bauxite. The cost of hauling garbage from cities is rising as nearby landfills fill up and the price of oil climbs. One of the first major cities to exhaust its locally available landfills was New York. When the Fresh Kills landfill, the local destination for New York's garbage, was permanently closed in March 2001. The city found itself hauling garbage to landfill sites in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and even Virginia, with some of the sites being 300 miles away. Given the 12,000 tons of garbage produced each day in New York, and assuming a load of 20 tons of garbage for each of the tractor-trailers used for the long-distance hauling, some 600 rigs are needed to move garbage from New York City daily. These tractor-trailers form a convoy nearly 9 miles long, impeding traffic, polluting the air, and raising carbon emissions. This daily convoy led Deputy Mayor Joseph J. Lotter, who supervised the Fresh Kills shutdown, to observe that getting rid of the city's trash is now like a military-style operation on a daily basis. Fiscally strapped local communities in other states are willing to take New York's garbage, if they are paid enough. Some see it as an economic burn, and the state governments, however, are saddled with increased road maintenance costs, traffic congestion, increased air pollution, potential water pollution from landfill leakage, and complaints from nearby communities. In 2001, Virginia's Governor Jim Gilmore wrote to Mayor Rudy Giuliani to complain about the use of Virginia for New York City's trash. "I understand the problem New York faces," he noted, "but the home state of Washington, Jefferson, and Madison has no intention of becoming New York's dumping ground." Garbage travails are not limited to New York City. Toronto, Canada's largest city, closed its last remaining landfill on December 31, 2002, and now ships all its 750,000 ton per year garbage to Wayne County, Michigan. Ironically, the state of New Jersey, a recipient of New York's waste, is now shipping up to 1,000 tons of demolition debris 600 miles each day also to Wayne County in Michigan. In Athens, the capital of ancient and modern Greece, the one landfill available reached saturation at the end of 2006. With local governments in Greece unwilling to accept Athens' garbage, the city's daily output of 6,000 tons began accumulating on the streets, creating a garbage crisis. The country is finally beginning to pay attention to what European Union Environment Commissioner Stavros Dimas, himself a Greek, calls the waste hierarchy, where priority is given first to the prevention of waste, and then to its reuse, recycling, and recovery. Any of the more recent garbage crises is unfolding in China, where, like everything else in the country, the amount of garbage generated is growing fast. Xinhua, a Chinese wire service, reports that a survey using an airborne remote sensor detected 7,000 garbage dumps, each larger than 50 square meters, in the suburbs of Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing. A large share of China's garbage is recycled, burned, or composted, but an even larger share is dumped in landfills, where they are available, or simply heaped up in unoccupied areas. The challenge is to replace the throwaway economy with a reduce, reuse, recycle economy. Officials should worry less about what to do with garbage, and think more about how to avoid producing it in the first place. Population and resource conflicts. As land and water become scarce, competition for these vital resources intensifies within societies, particularly between the wealthy and those who are poor and dispossessed. The shrinkage of life-supporting resources per person that comes with population growth is threatening to drop the living standards of millions of people below the survival level, leading to potentially unmanageable social tensions. Access to land is a prime source of social tension. Expanding world population has cut the grain land per person in half, from 0.23 hectares in 1950 to 0.10 hectares in 2007. 1/10 of a hectare is half of a building lot in an affluent U.S. suburb. This ongoing shrinkage of grain land per person makes it difficult for the world's farmers to feed the 70 million people added to world population each year. The shrinkage in cropland per person not only threatens livelihoods in largely subsistence societies, it threatens survival itself. Tensions within communities begin to build as land holdings shrink below that needed for survival. The Sahelian zone of Africa, with one of the world's fastest growing populations, is an area of spreading conflict. In troubled Sudan, 2 million people have died, and over 4 million have been displaced in the long-standing conflict of more than 20 years between the Muslim North and the Christian South.